You're watching News Today live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Hello and welcome. I'm Emefa Akosia Adeti, and this afternoon, Board Chairman of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Professor Titus Bayo, has called for the establishment of an emergency command center to transform Ghana's healthcare response system. And as well, Speaker of Parliament calls for the immediate passage of an emergency care law following the death of a 29-year-old engineer, Charles Emisa, who was reportedly returned away by 3 hospitals due to lack of beds.
As an emergency care law.
Now, Ghana expected to experience more rain than those ever recorded over the past 30 years. Authorities are urging farmers, coastal communities and the public to take early precautions to minimize flooding risk and protect lives and property. As well in the bulletin, Ghana Police Service to deploy over 70 police officers in each polling station for the Ayawaso East Parliamentary elections as the race officially enters its final leg. With details as residents list the expectations from the candidates. JoyNews, independent, fearless, credible. Please stay for details. Afternoon, and first in the news, the board chairman of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Professor Titus Bayo, has called for the establishment of an emergency command center to transform Ghana's healthcare response system. He described it as a practical and urgent solution to the persistent challenges facing emergency healthcare delivery in the country. Professor Bayo assured that the government was not scapegoating doctors and nurses. They simply want accountability. This comes on the back of outrage by Parliament after 29-year-old Charles Emisa died following a hit-and-run accident at the Circle overpass.
When someone is trying to get access to Korle Bu, they will call Korle Bu, they will say there's no bed. The doctors will call, there's no bed. But when I call Korle Bu, there's a bed. Why? And I asked them yesterday, if I am the one needing this care, who will call on my behalf?
Yeah.
We must have a system that you don't need to call an individual or need to know someone to assess an emergency. So that's where the systemic thing I'm talking about, ensuring the efficient use of these beds come in. So if you go elsewhere, we have what we call emergency command centers, a national emergency command center, and in major hospitals like Korle Bu, you have a bed command center. They have a dashboard. They are able to tell real-time bed occupancy, the type of beds available, because there are different types of hospital beds. If you take Korle Bu, that offers the full spectrum of healthcare, you can have the normal hospital bed at the emergency. In the emergency, you can have beds linked to oxygen. You can have beds linked to intensive monitoring, continuous monitoring for patients who need that kind of monitoring. You can have stroke beds in stroke wards. You can have beds in the ICU that must be linked to a ventilator. So when you say there is no bed, which kind of bed are you referring to? You see, things don't work in vacuum. There have been consistent lack of investment, significant investment in where it matters most as far as healthcare is concerned. There have been definitely some improvements since 2018, but it has not gotten to the level where it should be. So for instance, one of the things that came out is a concept of triaging, where when patients arrive at the emergency, they need to be triaged and color-coded to alert everybody in the space how urgent those patients need to receive care. So in the instance of 2018, the man was actually triaged in one facility, color-coded, and given his triage form to move around with it, which doesn't make sense. It defies all logic. And so if you look at the current situation we are dealing with, he was not even triaged at all. So, I mean, that's why I say I'm not too surprised, because one would have expected that in terms of our investment, we would have had more capacity at the emergency settings. Bigger hospitals should have proper emergency setup. one should have expected that we have a proper referral system. In these days of IT, electronic medical records, AI, we should have an integrated bed management model.
Now, in Parliament, MPs across party lines acknowledged deep systemic weaknesses and called for urgent reforms. Speaker Alban Bagbin is calling for the immediate passage of an emergency care law.
The needless deaths we have experienced in this country. At the end of the day, I will urge the House for us to legislate on the matter. We need to pass an emergency care law.
We welcome these actions, but let no one mistake executive inquiry for parliamentary oversight. Under Article 103 of the 1992 Constitution, this House has the primary duty to investigate matters of public importance and to expose inefficiencies and maladministration. This is what those who have done it today will be inspired by. They will talk, they will do nothing. We want to see action this time. We want to see people held accountable so that the rest of the health personnel across the country will know that this parliament will not sit idly by whilst people negligently lead to the loss of life, such as what we have seen.
This is a matter of a tragic death, a matter that has now been announced as a subject of an investigation. There should be no basis for which at this time there are attempts to suggest that it is because the immediate past administration did not finish Agenda 111 buildings.
Mr. Speaker, but the most disappointing part is that no bed could simply mean that the staff are not willing to work.
Now, still on health, the Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Protection Agency, Kofi Kapito, has called for a law to prevent government officials from seeking medical treatment abroad at the expense of the state. Now, speaking on the Joy News AM show, Mr. Kapito argued that public office holders, including the president, should only be permitted to travel outside Ghana for medical care if they are paying with their own private funds. He stressed that such a measure would compel authorities to prioritize improvements in the country's healthcare system.
That no government official, including the president, unless you use your own private money, you cannot be flown outside Ghana for medical care, because if a few of them die in Ghana, they will make sure that the hospitals are fixed.
So we should make
in
that.
Europe.
So the speaker is talking about law. We should put it in
but
there.
But the speaker himself.
Now, I'm asking whether we should put it in there that you can't travel out of Ghana with our money, unless it is your money.
Yes, that is what we should do.
Okay.
Because guess what? Then they will fix the hospitals. In Europe, from the beginning of Europe to the end of Europe, whether from France to Holland, Holland to Germany, Germany to England, there's no way that a president or government official will be flown from England to Germany for medical. That means your system doesn't work.
Now, away from that, onto the fight against illegal mining. The Incaria Divisional Police have arrested a gang of 4 posing as national security operatives to conduct anti-galamsey operations. They are alleged to have extorted sums of money from various illegal miners at a mining site in Achuma, in Wabieja South Municipality of the Ashanti region. 3 members of the gang have been identified as national security operatives using a private pump-action gun. Now, a pickup vehicle they used had been identified as the official vehicle of the NDC chairman for the Achuma Nkwanoma constituency, Simon Aloga. Erastus Cesare Donko has more in this.
The Incaria Divisional Police Day Patrol team arrested the 4 after a series of complaints. 2 of them, Samuel Nso, 35, and Nana Akom Owusu, 42, have been identified as national security operatives in the Achuma Kwangoma district. A 3rd person, Stephen Ajiman, is said to be a national security operative from the Castle, Accra, whilst the 4th person, Mark Donas Toku, 40, is a driver to the NDC chairman for Achuma Kwangoma. They were arrested after raiding an illegal mining site in Achuma Wabieja South, where a Chinese miner they arrested landed in a pit and sustained injuries. The Incaria police arrested them after complaints from the people. Police retrieved a set of green khaki uniforms used by the gang, 1 pump-action gun and 16 cartridges, and a white pickup vehicle with registration number JW8394-24, later confirmed to be the official vehicle of the NDC chairman for Achuma Kwangoma, Simon Alolga. The suspects were handed over to the National Security Liaison Office and have since been forwarded to the regional police for further investigations. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
And of course, environmental journalist Erastus Asaridonko joins me via Zoom for more on this. Erastus, once again, good job for all you're doing for our environment. But first, let's start with the vehicle, though. Have you picked up any information whether or not, beyond the driver, the NDC chairman for that constituency is confirming if the vehicle belongs to him? Hello, Erastus, if you can hear me, kindly unmute.
My sources within the security service have confirmed that indeed the constituency chairman came forward indicating that the said vehicle we are talking about belongs to him. That's the vehicle with registration number GW8394-24. Indeed, it's an official NDC vehicle that he is using as chairman of the Achuma Kwangoma NDC office. So that is his official vehicle. And his driver is one of the operatives who was using the vehicle to engage in this illegal act.
Okay, Erastus, confirm again to me, are these people posing as national security operatives, or they are indeed national security operatives?
So 2 of them, Samuel Nso, who is 35, and Nana Akom Owusu, 42, have been identified as national security operatives in the Achuma Kwangoma district, and I have confirmation of that. And a third person, Stephen Ajiman, is said to be a national security operative from the castle in Accra. But the third one, who is a driver to the NDC chairman for Achuma Kwangoma, that is Mark Donas Toku, he is a civilian and not a national security operative.
Okay. Erastus, as well, tell me, how did this come to the attention of the divisional police as we are reporting? Was it that somebody they extorted from reported them, or was the usual intelligence gathering?
So from my information from the police, they have had complaints from illegal miners in the area, specifically Achuma Mponua, Achuma Nwabieja South, that there are some group of people who have been coming to the sites and extorting monies from them. But this particular incident happened in Achuma Nwabieja South, where they went to an illegal mining site on the 4th of February, and in the course of extorting monies from them, they chased them, and one Chinese personality who was trying to escape fell into a galamsey pit, and he remained there till the next day, where he was rescued. And it was when they filed a complaint with the police went to the area, and they were able to arrest this group of people.
So, Erastus, 2 things here. Illegal miners reporting that they are being extorted. So for this Chinese person who has sustained some injuries, he as well, beyond the injury, is it that he's been arrested too? And the people who go to report, how do they do that?
Well, so there is that twist to all of this, and it tells you the nature of illegal mining at the local level, where the collusion and all that. But this Chinese personality was arrested. I understand that in the course of transporting him to the police station, he tried to escape from the bucket of the vehicle and has since bolted into the bush. And as we speak, they are still searching for him.
Wow. A Chinese national knows our forest better.
It will shock you to know that some of them can stay in the forest for months without being noticed.
Currently, what's the mining situation in that area, by the way?
If you know the Achuma Nwabieja South, Achuma Kwangoma area, Achuma Mponua is the headquarters for Galamsey currently as we speak. In fact, the River Oda, the River Ofin in those areas is unrecognizable. There is illegal mining all over. And this is the same district where we have the two forests that have been under siege for some time, the Jimira extension of Fin Shelter Belt, which has come under attack by illegal miners in that particular enclave. Wow.
Erastus, thank you so much for joining us on the news today. Away from illegal mining, here's a caution. The Ghana Meteorological Agency is warning farmers, fisher-folks, and communities in southern Ghana to brace for above-average rainfall between March and June. Levels expected to exceed records from the past 30 years. The agency announced the forecast at the launch of its Meteorological Awareness Month, urging stakeholders to take early precautions to protect lives, livelihoods, and properties ahead of what could be a challenging rainy season. And my colleague Michelle Latte has more in the following report.
The Ghana Meteorological Agency has indicated that southern Ghana is likely to experience higher rainfall in the coming months, a development that could heighten flood risk in low-lying and flood-prone communities. According to GMET, areas within the coastal forest and transitional zones are expected to record rainfall amounts that will match or exceed the 30-year historical average. Dr. Eric Isuman is Director General of GMET.
But we've done analysis for the past 30 years raining pattern. You analyze the data and then determined the mean, the average, all right, compared to what is going to happen this year, the forecasted period. We are saying that it's going to be either like what has been happening for the past 30 years or above what has happened over the past 30 years. This tells us that we are likely to have a lot more rainfall compared to the long-term mean. And so it goes to tell us that people who are living in flood-prone areas and possibility of flooding and flash flood will occur. So our message is that this forecast shouldn't be looked at in isolation. You look at it holistically by following all the advisories and updates that come with it.
Meanwhile, the government is set to upgrade GMET to an authority, giving the institution expanded policy and regulatory powers. The move is part of an ongoing legislative review by the sector ministry. According to the Minister of Communications and Digital Technology, Sam Nati George, the proposal is before Cabinet and he's optimistic it will reach Parliament before year-end.
We're currently before Cabinet. And so we believe that with the review, because in the review we are not just upgrading them to an authority, we're actually expanding the scope of their services to not just the aviation sector, but even the maritime sector, the oil sector, engineering and building. So the scope of, because you've seen from today's work that we've done here, the scope of what meteorological services, the result of their work is. So we're expanding the scope, and we're hopeful that once we're able to clear Cabinet, we'll go to the Attorney General. It will be laid before Parliament before the end of the year.
The planned reforms signal a broader push to reposition Ghana's meteorological services to meet increasing national demands. For JoyNews, Michelle Latte.
Now, Ghanaian PhD students in the United Kingdom have suspended a planned 2-day demonstration over unpaid tuition fee, stipends, and delayed renewal letters that assurances from Ghana's High Commissioner to the UK. Now, the protest, which was set to take place at the Ghana High Commission in London and the British Parliament, was called off in what the students describe as a sign of good faith, following a promise that the government would move swiftly to resolve arrears estimated at 55 million Ghana cedis. However, with February nearly over and no resolution yet in sight, frustration among the students is mounting once again. And the students warn patience is running out, with deportations, withdrawals from universities, and reliance on food banks already becoming a harsh reality. Now, joining me on Zoom this afternoon is Prince Komla Bansa, President, UK PhD cohort, PhD candidate, University of Lincoln, England. And we also have Frank, who is also Vice President for UK PhD cohort and PhD student of the University of Birmingham. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this afternoon. So tell me, at what point did you realize the promise made February resolution would not be met?
Well, good afternoon to you. So as you are already aware, we had some sort of meetings and conversation with the High Commissioner, Her Excellency Zita, which we are quite very appreciative, because this whole thing ordinarily was not supposed to be her, her work of a sort. But of course, she's like the representative of the president here, so she invited us, and then we had a long meeting. And the arrangement was that by mid-February, some sort of communication will be given to us in terms of results. But as you can see, we have passed the middle of February and nothing has happened. I've been in touch with her to be very, very fair to her. And last week, she did indicate to me on Sunday night that she was going to make a follow-up and then get back to me within the week. I haven't received that feedback from her yet, even though we are now in the second week. But as you said, you rightly said, the patience of the students are, running out. And because before I came onto the show, I had to dive into a meeting with the Vice Chancellor of my school, because one of the students have just been withdrawn. And I wanted to see how things can be reversed. But unfortunately, they explained to me that the government have not made payment towards his school fees, so they are unable to allow him to proceed. So it's a cascading problem that other schools, and as I'm telling you, yesterday I've received call from both undergraduate, masters. Some of them send me their details about how they've been withdrawn. Let me just make this point clear again, that as I constantly speak to you guys, we appreciate the fact that the High Commissioner is moving to get the issue addressed, but not all the issues that borders directly on immediate release of funds. So we have issues like the renewal letter. So as you realize, last year, September was the beginning of the academic years. With the PhD students, every year for the 3 or 4 years that you'll be doing the PhD, you require a renewal letter. The GSS is supposed to provide this letter so the students can then re-enroll. But as it stands now, since last year till now, none of the students have been given these letters. And so which means that technically the students that are sponsored by the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, since last year, September till now, there is no guarantee that they are still in schools. So with the PhDs, it means that they are not,
Prince, let me go to Frank as well, and let me take his thoughts on. So you say that an estimate of 55 million is what you need. Let me know, which one is the most important, the renewal letters? And if so, is it dependent on the fee that you would pay? Which one is the most pressing need for you as PhD students? Frank, if you can hear me, kindly unmute.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Before I proceed to answer that question, I would like to submit that this engagement with the media today and the subsequent days are not intended in any way to cut a slur on any individual or institution or government. It is born out of frustration, student frustration in getting a fair treatment. And so in answering that question, we need to pay our fees to be here. We need to be fed, to have the strength to study. And we also need the letters to renew our continuous stay in schools. So each of the 3 items are very important to us. We need them to be addressed for us to be able to stay here in the country to study.
How did we arrive at the estimate, the 55 million?
And so for us as PhDs, we are very organized. And so we took the time, we compiled our debts in terms of fees and the stipends over the years, and we arrived at that figure.
What's your plan B, though?
Well, at the stance now, students are losing their patience because of the harsh conditions that we find ourselves in, the mass withdrawals, the deportation scare, and other living conditions. And so students are ready to go onto the streets. And so this is an information that we're serving to government, that students are ready to demonstrate. if government do not heed to the call that we are making today.
Okay, Frank, thank you. But Prince, quickly before I end this conversation, are you at least considering, would you nest the idea of suspending your studies and returning to Ghana if the situation is not resolved?
I mean, there has been some casualties already in terms of that particular step. So as I speak, some of the students are actually in Ghana because they can no longer continue.
About how many out of how many?
Well, it cut across both PhDs and then masters and undergraduates. Some of them, cannot continue because of the circumstances, and some of them are basically also living in the country illegally because once you don't have the renewal letter to renew your studies, the school withdraws you, and then they report you to the Home Office, and then your visa get curtailed. So that is the state at which some of the students have. You know that I don't fall directly in that particular category because, but a lot more of our colleagues, and as my, yeah. Because,
I'm interested in that, yeah.
Yes, so I'm old stipend, but I'm not old school fees because my school fees was paid 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm and almost done with the course as well.
Okay.
But as my vice president has said, we had a committee that was set in place to examine the next way forward because the reason why the demonstration was taken off was because of the High Commissioner's plea. And the committee is completely independent, and we are just, the executives of the committee, and they have already made their proposal.
Okay.
I think that what is going to happen could become quite very, very embarrassing in terms of diplomacy. So we are, as executives, drawing the attention of the government that if they can act immediately, then all of us will be happy.
Frank and Prince, thank you so much for joining us on the news today. Now, in the news this afternoon, the government is coming under fire from the minority in Parliament over accusations it has unconstitutionally issued guidelines for the distribution of the District Assembly's Common Fund. And Minority Chief Whip Frank Anadompre claims to have exposed what he described as constitutional inconsistencies and fiscal management within the NDC administration, insisting that the guidelines conflict directly with the formula approved by Parliament under Article 252 of the 1992 Constitution.
The center of our concern are the 2025 guidelines for the utilization of District Assembly's Common Fund, issued by the Ministry of Local Government and approved of by Cabinet. Upon careful review, these guidelines contain fundamental inconsistencies, clear legal breaches, and deep contradictions with the 2025 District Assembly Common Fund formula duly approved by Parliament. Let us be unequivocal. This is not a technical quarrel. This is certainly not an administrative oversight. And this is not a routine policy disagreement. For us as a minority caucus and many discerning Ghanaians, this is certainly a constitutional issue. This is a governance issue, and by extension, this is a democratic accountability issue. Now, the begging question is why we're speaking out today. Article 252 of our cherished 1992 Constitution is clear and ambiguous. It vests in Parliament, and Parliament alone, the authority to determine the formula for the sharing of the District Assembly Common Fund across our 261 MMDAs. That authority is neither symbolic nor advisory. It is binding. In accordance with this mandate, Parliament approved the 2025 DACL formula allocating some 7.51 million Ghana cedis for the fiscal year and distributing it based on scientifically grounded equity drive model.
So wondering what the minority will do, here's what they say about the claims of unconstitutionality.
at one of the options we're looking at as a group. And you know, as far as the history of our country is concerned, right from the reforms that the Electoral Commission has implemented over the past 2 decades or so, many of them, voting with a picture on your voting ID card, departure from the opaque ballot boxes, and all these, a lot of them have come from us as a tradition, as a party. So we believe in the constitutional order, and when we find it important, we will go to court. But we are not unnecessarily going to be litigating. At the end of the day, we have the option to also speak up. And we also test the listening power of the president. The president says he's a listening president.
Well, I'll take you live to Parliament, where my colleague Kweku Asante is on standby to bring us updates on what's happening in Parliament. Kweku, so we've heard the minority on what they say is unconstitutional on the matter that we have told the audience. But today, though, what's happening in Parliament?
Well, sitting is expected to start in about 1 hour, 30 minutes time, 2 p.m. That is when the speaker is expected to be in his seat and gavel the House in session. There are a couple of questions that have to be answered by ministers of state. In particular, the whole of last week, a couple of questions had to be rescheduled because the ministers did not show up. They were busy performing other executive functions, and the minority did not take kindly to that. We are demanding that this week, ministers show up to answer questions before they trigger other parliamentary privileges that are available to them. So that is one. There are a couple of statements also that will be made in the House. These days, the speakers have been admitting loads and loads of statements. All of them have to be taken. But perhaps the big item on the agenda has to do with the legal education reform bill, which has been going on for quite some time now. The government expects that Parliament will pass it between today and tomorrow so that when Friday the president comes for the State of the Nation address, he can speak to it. So that is the order of business today at 2 p.m. when Parliament begins for sitting.
Thank you so much, Kweku. We definitely will be on standby for all of the fallout from Parliament. Now, the Public Procurement Authority says the Ghana electronic procurement system will significantly address procurement irregularities in the public sector, improve transparency and reduce corruption by about 90% when fully implemented. Now, launched in 2019 and taking through a 6-month pilot phase, the system seeks to promote fairness and serve as a panacea to Ghana's corruption and procurement-related challenges. Now, speaking to the media during a training session for staff of the Ministry of Defense in Accra, Director of Policy, Planning and Research at the authority, Clement Owusu-Fojo, said the manual system is fraught with challenges and therefore this initiative offers a sustainable solution to the country's procurement difficulties.
So Ghanaians, there are a lot of challenges that it has come to solve. For example, the manual one, we have a lot of challenges in terms of transparency, collusion, and so administrative costs, and so human interface, for example. So Ghanaians have come to clear all these things. Now, we can assure you that as for transparency, it's 100% assured. Also to people to have confidence in the procurement system, the Ghanaians is the way to go. And as I said, it will eliminate all these corruption issues that you are talking about because of the limitation of human interface. And when you ask me the challenges with the Ghanaians, some of them may be the internet connectivity, for example, and also just as we are doing there, we have to build the capacity because it's a new one. People are used to the manual. And now you are telling them to go on Ghanaians electronic. For example, some of us who are born before computer, for example, we have to train them to know how to use the system. So
it means that in the next few years or few months to come, Ghana would be corruption-free if they actually decide to use this particular system.
As for corruption-free, I can't guarantee that because we only minimize it. We cannot eliminate corruption. But I'm not saying that there should be a corrupt activities. But
I think this would significantly
reduce it by 90%.
About 90%?
For sure, because of the issues that I've already stated.
Now let's go live to my colleague Fatal Bayaga, who's joining us via Zoom, by the way, to understand what's happening at the training. He's there now. Fatal, well, so to reduce corruption by 90% is quite ambitious, but I'm quite curious. What's the reaction from the Defense Ministry to the training? Do they believe it would address their internal procurement challenges?
So for the Defense Ministry, this is a very good system. They've been using it for some time now, and it has proven to be very, very efficient. In fact, they said that it has reduced physical contact with some of their processes, and this is significantly reducing procurement challenges or irregularities as far as this particular issue is concerned. In fact, they said that when they commenced the implementation of this particular initiative, some of the challenges that they encountered was network, among others. But with this training today, they are quite convinced that all of those issues will be addressed, and that going forward, the system would work efficiently to address corruption within the Defense Ministry. So we can take a listen to the Director of Procurement, Theophilus Okan.
Already, the procurement process itself is transparent and it reduces corruption. But if you look at the electronic procurement system, that's the GANEPS, it is just the normal processes we have already been implementing that has been translated or transported onto the online or onto the system. So all the processes and the activities we have been undertaking or executing is being done online. So for instance, our adverts, we have the adverts online. Sometimes we also do have some in the newspapers. Now, formerly we used to receive the bids physically. With the GANEPS, the tenders are going to submit through electronics, so there's no contact, you understand? So I think that's the first step to the reduction of corruption. You don't see the human interface. Everything is through the system. Tenders are also opened online, and then the processes are also done through online till we award the contract. So I think there is no direct contact. Everything is done online. It is in the right direction.
On to the NDC election, the Ghana Police Service says it will deploy 80 officers to each polling station in the Ayawaso East constituency for its parliamentary by-election on March 3. First, the police say they have begun intensified community sensitization efforts across the constituency, engaging residents on the need to uphold peace before, during, and after voting. Listen to Assistant Superintendent of Police Ansong Ayakwa of the Nima District Police explain to my colleague Stephen Mensah the processes of the enforced on election day, the punitive measures for individuals who flout electoral laws, and his message to the youth. He was speaking at a debate organized for all aspirants ahead of the election.
Currently embarking on community engagement. We use the loudspeakers on our vehicle to tell people about how they should behave during, before, and after the election. So some of the messages we tell them is what I just mentioned here. We are the same people. We don't want violence. No one should insult. No one should deface or tear anybody's posters. These things are going to escalate violence. And therefore, simple message we give them is we are the same people going to live in the same community, going to the same churches, going to the same mosque, live in the same house, watch football at clubs and other places, you know. So we ought to be one. Politics is about what? Ideas and opinions. I am stressing that above all things, the whole Ghana is looking at Ayawaso East. We are sure to be peaceful. Finally, he is providing enough security. Every electoral area will have about 80 people, police officers, to protect everyone. And to go beyond out and come and vote freely. We have adequate personnel who will be on standby to respond to emergency issues.
Now, we've been engaging some residents in the Ayawaso East constituency on what they will expect from the next Member of Parliament for the area. Listen.
Our road should be fixed because it's one of our targets. We are looking for the market, Nima market, to be ultra-modern. We are expecting a secondary school in our community. We are expecting a recreation center, which we have, but they were fixing it, the Kaukudi Asotef, and it was abandoned.
Education. We need education. We need to develop the constituency due to the drug abuse that they are talking about. It's very high, and then we need to develop it and develop Ghana.
Should any of them emerge as a winner and then get to the Parliament House, what we need, first and foremost, is human building. or let me say, to develop the youth and the talent that we have in our constituency, so that at least if Nima's name is mentioned, it wouldn't be tagged always as people noted for bad deeds or something of that sort.
Today, please, there's more. Please stay.
Many thanks for staying with us. It's time for business. I am Michelle Ejikum. And now to our stories. The Electricity Company of Ghana in the Ashanti region has fully restored power and improved voltage after resolving a major technical setback caused by infrastructure theft. At least 8 higher tension towers linking to Angomaso bulk supply point to the Achao Krom substation collapsed after criminals removed bolts, nuts and bases from the steel structures. During repairs, ECG had to route multiple feeders through a single source, causing low voltage, frequent outages, and limited flexibility for technicians. Ohiming Teria, who first reported the theft, confirms that contractors handed the completed project back to ECG on Tuesday.
In the Ashanti region, on March 18, 2024, experienced several hours of power outages. The development forced the Electricity Company of Ghana to launch immediate investigations. At least 8 towers, stretching several kilometers, had fallen onto the ground after some miscreants removed bolts, nuts, and the base. The high-tension towers were transmitting power from Angomaso bulk supply point to the Achao Krom substation near Ejiso. Bekwai, Anyankwanta, Kumewu, Antuakru Mansum Kwanta, Chakubu, and Sanfo Aduam were some of the affected areas. Others included Kumewu, Ejiso, Nsuta, Afijase, and their environs. The completion of the construction works also coincided with the planned maintenance by ECG, which saw all customers on the broken towers restored to their normal positions. This means residents and businesses in several districts within the Ashanti region can now heave a sigh of relief. Engineer Daniel Mensah Asari is the general manager, Ashanti East.
We have worked very tirelessly to resolve the problem. The problem occurred around the 18th of March 2024, exactly. So as a result of the problem, it's created a situation where we have to manage to feed a lot of feeders through one source. And today, as I speak, I am happy, and on behalf of the entire ECG Ashanti region, we want to say that we have resolved that problem.
Also, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association is calling for alternative financing options to help increase the production of affordable housing in the country. President of the association, Dr. James Ollins-Lindsay, says access to long-term and low-cost financing remains one of the biggest challenges facing developers. Speaking at the association's breakfast meeting, Dr. Ollins-Lindsay stressed that without innovative funding models, it will be difficult for the private sector to deliver houses at prices ordinary Ghanaians can afford.
First meeting, Dr. Ollins-Lindsay pointed out that high interest rates and short repayment periods are discouraging investment in affordable housing projects.
Because housing is not charity, it is structured economics. So every time I get into these discussions, I ask, what is all the money that is being kept in the third-tier pension doing? Because we could give, real estate could give better returns than what is being used for now. Food for thought. But then, luckily, there is the promise of the 24-hour economy. Honorable colleagues, my council and I warmly embrace the 24-hour economy. We believe it is a game changer. With government support, Greta can streamline regulations and permit and cut bureaucracy.
The president of the GREDA also stressed that tackling housing finance constraints is crucial if Ghana is to meet the growing demand for affordable homes, particularly for low and middle income earners.
Well, that'll be all for business. I am Michelle Ejekum. For more business news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Sports is up next.
We bring you sports now on Joy News Today with me, Muftaro Nabila Abdat. The Director General of the National Sports Authority, Yawan Pofankra, has released a statement following a publication by Joy Sports that he has recruited about 17 staff without following due process. Though he had earlier described the reports as fake news, he's gone on to state that the recruited staff will have to reapply for the various roles that they were given at the National Sports Authority. He says the management of the National Sports Authority wishes to inform staff, media stakeholders, valid corporate partners, associations or federations that constructive engagements have been held with the Honorable Minister responsible for sports and recreation. The discussions focused on recent public commentary on the status of 17 officers of the authority that has caused some uncertainty. He goes on to say that talks were cordial, open and solution-oriented with a shared commitment to due process, institutional stability and administrative clarity. It was agreed that the affected officers who have served for over 11 months without salary will reapply in accordance with established public service procedures. And he said, with a duly constituted governing body now in place after 10 months of the new management team taking office, the necessary steps will subsequently be taken to regularize their employment in line with applicable regulations. The details of this story is on my JoyOnline.com. And this is how I wrap up sports here. Showbiz is up next.
Well, it's time now for Showbiz. I am Loy Sholadimi. Let's get into our stories. Now, as February draws to a close, our month of love series shifts from the OGs of the game to the spotlight on one of Ghana's most consistent hitmakers when it comes to romance, Kiddy. Now, known for his smooth vocals, playful charm, and emotionally rich lyrics, the award-winning singer has built a catalog that captures affection, desire, heartbreak, and everything in between. From wedding playlists to late-night dedications, Kiddy's music has become a staple for lovers across Ghana and beyond.
Let's go. Leading the list is Say You Love Me, one of Kiddy's early breakout records that introduced him as a romantic storyteller with emotional depth and sincerity.
Say you love me, baby, say you love me, I'm gonna hold you down.
Next is Odo, a timeless favorite that quickly became a staple at weddings, proposals, and Valentine celebrations.
See me, I no get 30 billion, Odo, yeah, but I got so much love to give you.
Also making the list is Mon Bébé, a vibrant and affectionate anthem that blends French-inspired endearment with Afrobeat rhythm, celebrating admiration and devotion.
Girls wanna have fun. Throw that ass back, machine gun. Oh, she's in action.
Then there's One Man, a song that speaks to commitment and reassurance, highlighting loyalty in relationships and the desire to be someone's chosen partner.
You are the woman that I need. I'll be the one man that you.
And finally, Adia Pena, a tender confession that showcases Kiddy's vocal strength while expressing deep admiration for a love interest.
If you want, I go make you mine. If you want, I go love you that.
As the love month comes.
Well, that's all for Showbiz. For more entertainment stories, please do log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Loy Shola Adeyemi. MFA, are you ready for Bridgerton Part 2?
Yeah, gentle viewers, this is how we wrap the bulletin. I am MFA Kosiadeti. Please, by all means, log on to myjoyonline.com. Thank you so much for watching.
Reason enough to risk everything.